Continuing our division previews and best bets videos, and today we are previewing the AFC South. Ninja here with Tony Farmer for OddsShark. Welcome to the channel. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. We will be taking a look at each team and breaking down our favorite futures bets for 2025. But Tony, first, describe to me the 2025 AFC South in one word.
I'm going to say open. And if you gave me two words, I'd say wide open. Remember when we did the AFC East preview? It was all about how the Bills are far and away the best team in that division. It's going to be tough to catch them, barring some injuries. The AFC South is the exact opposite. It's wide open. And if you're a fan of one of these teams, it kind of makes going into this season a little more exciting because there is a path to winning the division for all four of these teams.
It does feel a bit more open than a division like the AFC East, but I'm a bit surprised you said that, knowing or what I thought I knew about how you felt about the Houston Texans, and we will get into that momentarily. But let's take a look at division win totals here real quick. These are from FanDuel. We are recording this in very early August, so of course they are subject to change and to movement, but it is the Houston Texans sitting at 9.5 wins. The Indianapolis Colts at 7.5 wins. The Jacksonville Jaguars also at 7.5 wins. And then last but not least, the Tennessee Titans sitting at 5.5 wins for 2025. And at the end, we will recap the video with our final division order. We'll get into our favorite picks from these four teams in a moment. But let me ask you this, Tony, about those Houston Texans. Are the Houston Texans good enough? And they did revamp a bit in the offseason, but are they good enough to, quote unquote, dominate the AFC South for the foreseeable future? Or is the rest of this division slowly but surely catching up?
Man, it's such a tough question to answer because I think it's going to come down to quarterback play. Like, who is CJ Stroud? His rookie year, he looked incredible. He regressed last year big time. So what are we going to see out of him in year three? There's already some rumors about him having some shoulder soreness right now at this point. So it comes down to that. And then you look at a guy like Trevor Lawrence. Can Liam Cohen, new head coach of the Jaguars, unlock Trevor Lawrence's potential that we all know deep down inside is there somewhere, right? So it just depends on if Trevor Lawrence can take that next step, and is CJ Stroud going to take that next step? Because as of right now, I think you have to say Stroud is far and away the best quarterback in the division. We'll see if that remains to be seen in the future.
Let's get into the picks here. We'll just go in order of those win totals, going worst to first. So I will start, Tony, with the Tennessee Titans. And Tony, I might be a bit crazy here, but I'm buying into the Cam Ward hype. We've heard the praise at camp, and I am all in. I am taking, Tony, the Tennessee Titans to make the playoffs at plus 370 at DraftKings. And it begins with those upgrades on offense. And, you know, there's more than just Cam Ward, but basically the Titans upgraded everywhere across the board on offense. Obviously, Cam Ward under center, but then addressing some depth at tight end through the draft, and then wide receiver through the draft. And they also added Tyler Lockett, and then really bolstering that offensive line, although not difficult considering how they played last season. So I'm very hopeful there. A healthy Lloyd Cushberry, et cetera, et cetera. Some faces, same faces back at running back, which is okay in my opinion. They need to improve on the field there, but I think that just happens given they'll be better at quarterback and on O-line. Then the other side of the ball, Tony, the defensive line is solid, if unspectacular. They are solid against the run. That's one of their strengths, but they really need to improve at getting to the quarterback. I think the secondary is good. I like Kevin Winston out of Penn State, so it'll be interesting to see if he translates to the NFL. The defense put up some solid numbers last year that this franchise can build off, but really, this comes down to Cam Ward. Can he be this season's Jaden Daniels? Can the Titans be this season's Washington Commanders? I'm going to take a little sprinkle and ride with them. Number 8 in terms of strength of schedule per Sharp Football. By the way, I don't like this division very much. I don't really like the Colts in 2025. I am not high on Trevor Lawrence. So let's go Titans. Why don't you go ahead with the Indianapolis Colts here, Tony?
I've actually got two picks for you today. So DeForest Buckner over 7.5 sacks. You can find that at minus 110 over at Bet365. He's got some contract motivation, first of all. This isn't a contract year, but next year is. So he'll be looking to have a big season this year so he can renegotiate next year. There's a giant roster bonus that'll be due next year as well. So he's going to be motivated going into this season. But look at the offensive lines that DeForest Buckner plays against this year. Remember, he's in the AFC South. So according to Pro Football Focus, the Titans, Jaguars, and Texans all have offensive lines that are 24th or worse. So that's 6 games right there that he's playing against really bad offensive lines. Oh yeah, he also plays the Dolphins, 25th ranked offensive line according to PFF. Seattle, 30th ranked offensive line according to PFF. So half of DeForest Buckner's games, he's going up against what are projected to be really bad offensive lines. I like him to go over the 7.5 sack number. My next bet for you, Daniel Jones to start week 1, plus 255. They're paying him $14 million. They're paying him like a starter. I have a theory here that Shane Steichen has a little bit of a man crush here on Daniel Jones. Brought him in. He's paying him this money. Steichen used to coach for the Eagles, so he saw Daniel Jones up close when Jones was playing a little bit better. I think you could also make an argument that Daniel Jones is just a better quarterback right now than Anthony Richardson. You can make that argument. Anthony Richardson's got more career interceptions thrown than touchdowns. Daniel Jones, besides one season, has thrown more touchdowns than interceptions. So I like the dark horse here, Daniel Jones, to get that week 1 start. It's a bit of an upset, but at plus 255, it feels right.
Okay, over to Jacksonville. And because I'm higher than most on Tennessee, that sort of means I have to be down on someone. That someone is going to be the Jags here. So give me the Jags to finish 3rd in the division at plus 260 at DraftKings. And look, Trevor Lawrence had an extremely tough go of things last season. The Jags were 2-8 in his games. A lot of close games in there against some very good opponents, it has to be said. But still, this guy has been a winner at every level except the NFL. And last year, he took a big step back. And now I'm just settled on the fact that he's just going to be a good quarterback, and he's not that star that he was supposed to be. I will say, though, that I do love Brian Thomas, and I'll leave it at that. Don't love the offensive line in Jacksonville either, though. And then the schedule starts out really rough for Jacksonville, and they could find themselves behind the 8 ball real quick in 2025, okay? Week 1 against Carolina, that should be a win. But after that, it's at Cincy versus Houston, at San Francisco versus KC, and then versus Seattle, and then versus the Rams in London, and then they go into their bye in week 8. They could be 1-6 at that point, and they, go out of that bye week with road games in 4 of the next 5 weeks. Now, that said, it does get pretty quote unquote easy after that, but still, if they start dropping games off early in the season, it could be a very, very tough scene in Jacksonville. So I'll take them to finish 3rd in the division. And just a reminder, if you are looking for a new book to add to your arsenal, you can visit oddshark.com/NFL/sites and get the lowdown on all of our partner books. And trust me, even if you have one, you've got to add more to your list for NFL season. There's nothing more important than giving yourself the opportunity to shop around and find the best odds or the best price. That's oddshark.com/NFL/sites. All right, Tony, take us home with the division faves here, the Houston Texans. What do you like for them in 2025?
All right, this isn't a market that I typically dabble in, but how about stage of elimination at FanDuel, plus 270 for the Texans to lose in the wild card round? I just view this team as a team that should be good enough to make the playoffs. I feel pretty confident about that. But they're not as good as the Ravens. They're not as good as the Chiefs. They're not as good as the Bills. They're just in a separate tier. I love that defense. Love DeMeco Ryans. I feel like he's one of the most underrated coaches in the NFL. But I see them just making the playoffs and then bouncing early. And this could be a nice little hedge piece or a middle piece. If the Texans do end up making the playoffs, you essentially have a plus 270 ticket on their opponent in the first round of the playoffs. So it could set you up to do something interesting in the playoffs too. So Texans lose in the wild card round, plus 270.
Given that this is one of the more maligned divisions in the NFL, what do you look at when you look at these 4 teams? And maybe it's the Texans you want to single out here, but what do you look at in terms of 2025 survivor pools?
Yeah, with the Texans, they've got 6 games this season where right now, win probability-wise, they're projected at 65% plus on 6 of these games, okay? The first 9 weeks, only one of those games is week 4, and that's against the Titans. Then you've got 5 games, weeks 10 through 18, that they're big favorites in as well. So you got to have a decision to make. Do you use them week 4, or do you keep them in your pocket for these extra opportunities later in the season? And I think keeping them in your pocket is probably the best bet.
Let's wrap here with division order. I'll go first here, Tony. So in 4th, I'm going with the Colts. I just think the QB position is going to hold them back, despite Indianapolis having some very good strengths, like at running back and definitely on that offensive line. Some question marks on defense as well for this team. 3rd, I'm going Jags. I'm out on Lawrence. There's some good pieces here, obviously. Like I said, I love Brian Thomas, but the offense is too one-dimensional. Don't love the run game here. And that offensive line could be a very difficult problem for them as well. Number 2, Tennessee Titans. I'm buying the Cam Ward stock. I'm buying the hype, and I'll back him making the Titans this year's Commanders. And then first, the Houston Texans. I think the division is still theirs for now anyway. But Tony, what do you say for the AFC South?
So I got Texans, Jags, Colts, Titans. I feel like there's sort of 2 tiers here. While all these teams are fairly close together, I think Texans and Jaguars are a slight tier above the Colts and Titans. Like, I'd be shocked if the Titans won the division. Well, I think there's a path there. I'd be pretty surprised if the Colts won the division while there's a path there. Texans and Jaguars, I think, wouldn't surprise me at all if either of those teams won the AFC South.
There you go. AFC South. Thanks, Tony.